For 9 years, we've had entrepreneurs come together every April, and then again, they'll come together in Birmingham, Alabama, every October. We've had over 80 pitches with 6 exits worth over $500 million in value and over $200 million in annual revenue in those companies. Praise the Lord. We're just thankful that he let us to be a part of something like that. The amazing thing is the social impact on top of that. Over 40,000 lives have been saved through products that were pitched and funded at the Lion's Den. Over 3,000 jobs created, and 16,000 refugee jobs have been staffed just through the companies that have pitched at the event. Not only that, but today as we're celebrating all the things of the Sunday service, amazingly we can celebrate more than 400,000 people have heard the gospel through the pitch companies and through their businesses and the work they're doing as they go out into the world. And 10 million people have engaged with the Bible because of these for-profit, not nonprofit, for-profit many technology companies. We've had companies from all over the world, China, Africa, Europe, and so it's an exciting thing to be a part of.
It really is, and we're really blessed to be associated with it. So we're going to get it started without further delay, but here's what we always do at Lion's Den. We always pray first to begin it, so I'm going to do that with us real quick. Bow your heads. Lord, thanks for the day. Thanks for this part of worship. Thank you for all that went together to create this for South by Southwest. It is always in your name we pray, amen. So that's what we got. So we always do content. And so content today, we're really blessed to have deep content speakers at Lion's Den. So Aaron, I thought we were cueing the lion for a minute. I heard that in the background. So Aaron Perman is a partner with S3 Ventures here in Austin. Aaron has a deep background in software, AI companies, healthcare, technology. S3, if you're not familiar with it, I believe is the preeminent venture capital firm in Texas. Almost $1 billion under management as they've raised it. Their managing partner and founder is Brian Smith, and they've been a great ally and partner for us. And so I'd like for Aaron to come out and sort of give a first presentation on what he needs to see you produce in a venture capital pitch. So is he around? Aaron, are you there, buddy?
Y'all welcome Aaron.
Give it up for Aaron.
Hi there. As mentioned, I'm Aaron Perman, a partner at S3 Ventures. And S3, we're the largest venture capital firm in Texas and focused on Texas. And so I've been at S3 for the last decade. Before this, I was CEO of a startup called Quality Media. They were a advertising technology platform that helped advertisers better identify their audiences across all their devices and led it to an exit by Adstra. And so, quick background on S3, $900 million under management over 17 years. We're unique in that we have a single limited partner that's a highly philanthropic family office. And so our goal is to make them as much money as possible. They can give away as much as possible. So all of our proceeds go to a whole bunch of good causes. And with this single limited partner, we can be patient capital. So, we can start in the early stages and follow on and be there all along the journey. We've made 56 investments across 7 funds with 20 exits, including an IPO. We're investing out of a $250 million Fund 7 that we launched in March of 22. Like I said, seed, Series A, and Series B stages. I think companies that have between 500,000 of annual revenue to 5 million is our typical entry sweet spot. And the vast majority of these investments are in Texas, in either business software companies, healthcare technology companies, and digital experience companies. But enough about S3. You're all here to talk about startup funding sources of venture capital, so let's jump in. So there's a whole bunch of different sources of capital for different type of companies, and there's no one better or worse source of capital. It's all about how do you match the right capital to the right stage, and they all have pros and cons. And so typically the earliest stage companies, the companies that are what we call idea stage, idea on a napkin, founders, they haven't built a product, haven't built don't have any customers yet. Usually those are effectively bootstrapping, where you're either putting your own money in or you're raising money from friends, family, and fools to help get your venture off the ground. And typically that's really the only capital for idea stage. And then there's some accelerators that are also invest at that stage. The pro is it's early. The con is there's limited capital, and usually it's more money and not as much advisory. Then you look at other types of funding like bank debt and others. They don't typically lend to early stage companies. You typically have to have, if you're an early stage software company, an equity investor to get bank debt. You start to move up the stack, you have people that are professional angel investors, exit entrepreneurs that like to back emerging companies. A lot of times they'll come in right before us, and so they may come in and have a little deeper pockets than your friends and family, and invest if you have some kind of early product, maybe an initial customer or two, and then you get to venture capital, which is what I'm going to talk about today. And so the pro is, like us, we have a $250 million fund. We invest millions of dollars at a time, and we've seen a lot. 3 of my 4 partners have been exited entrepreneurs, CEOs of startups. The con is our capital is really expensive, and so you want to use it efficiently and sparingly, especially at the early stages. And so digging into what venture capital is, venture capital is high-risk capital provided to high-potential companies at their early stages. And so venture capital firms, we actually go raise money from other people, and they basically pay us to manage it, and we're incentivized by maximizing returns. And so we're typically aligned with the companies and founders to help make exits really, really successful. And so what makes a venture-backable company? And this is one thing that I find a lot of folks don't fully always understand, that venture capital investors have a laser focus. They need to be investing in companies that could one day be $500 million, billion type value companies. And so to do that, you need really big markets. And so sometimes you'll find great businesses that could be fantastic personally. They're, maybe they're solving a niche problem that eventually you could get enough customers at a high enough price to get to $10 or $20 million of revenue a year. If you own 100% of that and one day sell it or pay dividends, that could be an incredible outcome, but that's not the outcome that venture capital investors are looking for. We're looking for things where you have a billion or $10 billion market, and you could get a good percentage, 100 million, 500 million in revenue over a 10 or 15 year period. And so to execute on that, you typically need a team that has the vision, but also has the ability to be grounded in today and execute on that vision. In terms of technology, most VCs are investing in things that have some sort of technology moat. So whether you're a fund like us that does a lot of business-to-business software, or you're doing biotech, the hallmark of a venture-backed company is they take a lot of capital to get going because there's a lot of R&D, research and development, to go figure out the product in the market. But once you figure it out, it's an IP-based play where every dollar of revenue delivers 90%, 90 cents of incremental profit. Because you're not typically selling physical goods, you're selling software, other things, where incremental revenue is really valuable. And then, in terms of what an investment looks like, most venture investors are pretty active. And so they're looking to own 10, 15, 20% of a company. Typically, they'll join the board and start to add more formality to the business, so reporting and governance, and kind of help grow companies up. And they're typically investing in what's called preferred stock, where they have some more downside protection as well. And that's typically what a venture deal looks like. And so if you want to run the company totally yourself and never have a board or anybody else, venture is not the right path for you. If you're looking to add people to your board that have experience and you want to collaborate with them, venture can be a very, very good path. So how do we evaluate potential investments at S3? It's really a few things you look for. You look at founders, what they've done before, and then just what it's like working with them during our process. We look at the company, like I said, what the product they're looking at, what the market they're looking at, and then we evaluate them through our process. That's our trial run of working together, because we're looking at this as a 10 to 15 year relationship. Most companies, it's going to be a decade plus from first investment to IPO or M&A exit. And so we're really using the investment process to figure out, do we like working with each other? Do we work well with each other? Because there's no way, once someone invests, they're there forever. And so I always tell founders, you should be evaluating the investor and not selling them, but genuinely trying out what it's going to be like to work with them. So what do we look for in founders? It doesn't seem like a hard list, but it's something that's really important to us. So balanced demeanor, passionate, are they coachable? Are the pitch sessions like just being sold? Or are we actually working together to go solve problems? You know, what are their values? High integrity people are really important to us. Communication. Can we communicate well? Will it be an efficient process working together? And then, you know, do they have domain expertise and can they hire people? So we look at who are the people they were even able to get on before they could really pay them much money and get inspired and excited about the business. Because teams build great companies, and if you can't hire good people or you have a lot of turnover on those people, a lot of time that's an early kind of canary in a coal mine that something isn't going well. And then on the company, we look at what are the problem that they're solving. It sounds really simple, but there's a lot of companies out there that I'd say they're vitamins. They're a nice to have, but they're not painkillers. You want to find a company that's solving something so painful that a Fortune 500 is willing to write a $100,000 upfront check when you don't even have a product fully built, because the problem you're solving for them is so painful. If you can solve it, you're going to make or save them millions of dollars, and they've probably already spent $5 million with Deloitte or Accenture, and one of those consulting firms has failed to build them something effective. And so that's the type of problems you're looking to solve. Or if you're a consumer company, you want to have created so much value for the consumer that, like, literally they log into your app 10 times a day and they're addicted to it. Or maybe not actually that, but that's the type of stuff you want to be solving. So, you know, one way to do this is if you talk to customers, they'll tell you what they want, and then ask them how much they'll pay. And if you get a hem and a haw of like, well, maybe I could find some time and budget, but it's not a priority and it'd be really hard, that's not a good sign. And so you really want to talk to customers and do discovery. And then if you think about traction, you know, we look at repeatability, right? And so have you solved the same people for the same problem for the same stakeholder multiple times? And they've paid you a consistent amount of money to do it. And that starts to say, hey, there's a hammer and a nail, and we can just find more nails and start hammering, and if we put money in, more money will pop out. And then what's really exciting is if you found somebody else outside of the founder that you've hired that can actually sell it. Then the last thing I'd say is on market. People overcomplicate market sizing. It's really easy. Figure out, even if you're early, what do you think someone would pay for this? And if you're struggling on that, try to figure out how much value is this going to create for a business, for instance, and then assume they'll pay you 10 to 30% of the value you'll create. So if you're going to save $1 million a year, you'll probably get paid $100,000 or $200,000 for that. Then multiply that by the number of companies out there that have that problem. And it's as simple as that, and we're looking for that to be 500 million to $1 billion plus. So on the companies, like I was talking about earlier, when it comes to, you know, most of the companies we invest in are IP or technology companies, and so we're looking at things like for every dollar of revenue, what does it cost to serve them? What does it cost to acquire a new customer relative to their lifetime value? And you want the customer's lifetime value to be multiples of the cost to acquire them. And just how capital efficiently have you grown? Have you raised not much money and gone really far with it? On the exec team, we know that no one person is going to be an entire company. And so what we're really looking at is what is that person's capabilities, and are they self-aware of where they need to hire, and can they inspire others to come follow them? And then finally on the financing, it's how much money do they need, and where will it get them? And will it get them far enough that they can raise the next round of capital? Because if you go the venture path, you're probably not going to be profitable for a decade if you're successful. Because you will be growing so fast, it will always make sense to raise more money, to invest that money in growth, and rinse and repeat every 18 to 24 months. And so we're always thinking about not will you be profitable after you've raised your first $3 million from us, but will you grow enough where you can raise $10 million in 18 months, most venture rounds last 18 to 24 months, at 3, 5, 10 times the share price that we paid? Or can we go do that round and then rinse and repeat 18 months after that? So what's the process? How do you raise money from a venture capital firm? This is our process. Most other firms have a very similar process. Most investment firms are pretty approachable. If you email any one of us and you're within the bounds of what we look at, technology, based in Texas or the middle of the US, between 500,000 to 5 million in revenue, and the email is clear, readable, bullets, we can understand what's going on, we'll reply to pretty much every cold email we get. And then from there it goes into, you know, first meeting, and it's really this whole process is typically a 3 to 8 week process of working together and then seeing if we work well together and if we think there's a mutual opportunity here. And then once we invest, that's kind of when the work starts. And after that, we're helping our companies hire people, helping them find their first customers, helping them iterate on product. And so we each probably spend 50 to 60% of our time actually working with our existing portfolio and doing whatever we can to help them be successful, because we're all aligned. So in terms of what our values are and how we think about alignment, like I said, patient capital. We do what we can to support our founders. We try to be clear. We have empathy for the challenges they're going through. We can invest over the long haul, and we think we're generally pretty flexible with what that looks like. From a resource standpoint, we follow through on our commitments, so we don't just say we're going to do something, we actually do it. We have resources like a full-time director of talent that helps our companies recruit people. We'll jump in and build financial models and spreadsheets for them. We'll introduce them to customers and partners. And we don't charge our portfolio for any of this. This is kind of part of the relationship. And then we draw from our experience. Someone on our team has probably seen something similar at some point. And so hopefully we can recognize patterns early and help accelerate success. And then finally, we really think about impact with everything we do. And so one is to have a big positive impact on society, on businesses, on consumers, on people by creating more value, making someone's life a little bit easier, having companies that create products that delight people, or medical devices that improve the human condition. We try to be agile and decisive and quick because in a startup, as you're burning money every month, speed really, really, really matters. And so most of our companies go through at least 1 or 2 business pivots, and if they do it quickly, it's great. If they do it slowly, that's where it's really painful. And then we strive to deliver superior financial returns to our sole investor because all of our returns are then directed into high-impact social programs by our sole investor. Well, that's what I got. So thank you all for hearing me today, and I'll have the next speaker come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Aaron Perman from S3 Ventures, one of Austin's top venture capital funds. Hey, is anybody excited to be here? Raise your hand if you're an entrepreneur in the crowd. All right, so you guys know this process. Raise your hand if you've pitched 10 times in this last month to VCs. There you go. So somebody knows the pain. All right, so we're about to bring these entrepreneurs up on stage in just a minute. We're going to give them 10 minutes to pitch their company, and you give them 5 minutes to get a little VC feedback. If they go over the 10 minutes, you'll hear a lion roar in the background. That's just our way of saying thanks, but your time is over. Fortunately, some groups, a friend of mine's down here at South by this week, he only got 3 minutes to pitch in front of a group. So 10 minutes here we feel like is a pretty good opportunity. Hey, last thing, if I want to recognize a few. We thank you for our friends at JP Morgan who are in the crowd, Hayden and the guys. If y'all are still here, we appreciate you guys for doing venture debt. Zach Morrow in the crowd. Guys, he runs Austin's Faith and Work blog. If you type in Austin Faith and Work, you'll learn tons about some of the things going on at Austin Venture Capital. And I want to give it up for my friend Eugene, all the way from San Francisco, raising money here today. So thanks for Eugene for coming out. All right, Ed?
I got it. Eugene, raise your hand, man. We can see you down there. There's Eugene, everyone. So I hope you know how great that was because you have to understand what the investor needs to see. You have to understand the other side of the table. And you receive some really great ideas. Now, by the way, when we finish today, we'll be at that back pavilion porch to answer any questions that you have. So I was told that maybe S3 brought a lot of money with them. It's in a car on 6th Street somewhere, so I hope it's okay. But there's plenty of business cards to go around, and our goal is to talk to companies and match them with funders. That's what Lions Den is all about. That's what we do. I will not be remiss, also, as Vip indicated, with a couple more thank yous. Also want to give it up for Stubbs Barbecue. I think the best barbecue anywhere.
All right, give it up for Stubbs.
Also, a quick note to my friend Tammy Devine. Tammy, step out real quick. Tammy originally connected Lions Den with South by Southwest and this worship track. So thank you.
Thank you, Tammy.
So now the other thing that we're now going to move into is really another big cornerstone for Lions Den, and that is to have panels and pitches. And so I wanted to introduce, I had the pleasure of asking to introduce my friend Patrick Farrell. Patrick basically established and created Potomac Angel Capital a couple of years ago. Potomac means like Washington, D.C. If he started it here, it might have been Brazos or something. But Potomac Angel Capital is a great, well-known firm in Washington, and he has moved to Austin because of the opportunity in Austin. So this is fertile ground for all of you to talk to a great organization that's coming in. Patrick's had a lot of background in companies, and he really focuses on mission-driven, early-stage, entrepreneurial-led companies. So this is the guy you want to come back and meet. He's become a great friend, though, because of all his expertise. He looks at venture capital in a faith-driven environment in the way that you want him to. All the things that were talked about, patient capital, how you deal with for-profit. So we're giving you great content today, and I wanted to bring Patrick out. There you go. All right, man. Yeah. Appreciate you.
Good afternoon, Stubbs. We're so excited to be here today. We have an awesome group of panelists about to come up right now. All of these investors are here in Texas, most of them here in Austin. They know what it takes to build early-stage companies and invest well. So without further ado, please give a round of applause as our panel comes out. Come on out, guys. Awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little conversation with these guys here. You're going to learn more about them here in a second. So first off, let's just start off with tell us a little bit about yourself, your name, your organization, what you're up to right now. We'll start over here with Vip and kind of go on down the line.
Thanks, Patrick. My name is Vip Vipperman. I work for Eagle Venture Fund based in Dallas, Texas, and Zurich, Switzerland. We love to invest in things high on the social impact scale. So we have a fund focused on investing in for-profit technology to fight human trafficking and slavery. God's allowed us to do good things with his money. Married and 3 kids. I'm teaching a 15-year-old to drive, ladies and gentlemen. It is a challenging but awesome opportunity to serve my family.
Hey guys, my name is Evan Bear. I have 4 kids, so I'm just saying time to step up. And we live here in Austin, Texas. I get to be in leadership at a venture capital firm called Learn Capital that's about 15 years old, manages about $1 billion, and they really created the category of ed tech, education technology. So we back companies that help kids learn to read, that help mid-career people take on new skill sets, that help everyone recover from addiction or PTSD or depression. So it's a real privilege to think about stewarding capital in ways that drive human flourishing.
Hi, my name is Tim Allen. I'm a investor and an entrepreneur, but the thing that I'm most involved in right now in Austin is called The Foundry, which I founded with a gentleman from Austin named Jeff Johnson. And our focus is to raise up 300 Christ-centered CEOs in Austin that love their staff, that together take care of their customers, that bless the communities that they operate in within the city. And we've been in existence for about 2 years. And this December, we will graduate close to 40 CEOs through the program.
Hi, my name is Lawton Cummings. I am general partner at Capital Factory. We invest in early stage tech companies here in Texas, as well as in Henry Crown Fellow founded startups. I also am married with 2 kids, but mine are big people out in the world doing great things. And I'm happy to be here.
Hey everyone, I am Richard Cunningham. I work for a global investor network called Faith Driven Investor, and we're a global organization that believes God cares deeply about the where, the how, but more than anything, the why, the heart posture behind our investment process, whether that be from early stage venture like we're talking today, all the way into public market strategies. We're a global team based everywhere. I have the privilege of living here in Austin, Texas, growing up here in Austin, Texas, and I'm married. My lovely bride, Marshall's out in the crowd somewhere. Yeah, they're pointing her out there. And we do not have any kiddos yet, so we got a little more capacity than all of you in terms of time.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And if you can't tell yet, this is an all-star group of investors and former entrepreneurs. We're so excited to have you guys here. So now we're just going to open up this question to popcorn. So whoever feels led to answer, feel free to do so. But when you think of faith-driven investing or redemptive investing, what does that mean to you, or what comes to mind?
Oh, just a quick one. So about 10 years ago, I had this mentor. He's a former mentor, and I'll tell you why in a second. And he had read this book you guys might be familiar with called Halftime: From Success to Significance. And his advice to me, he said, look, to be able to make decisions about how you're going to spend your life, you first need to go make a lot of money. And then you're going to get to halftime, and then you can have significance after you have success. And it just landed with me like, I think that's just terrible advice. So I didn't follow it. And the exciting thing about, I think, this new generation of Christians in the marketplace as allocators or as founders is that we recognize that the way money operates, it's not that by building companies, it generates wealth for us, and then we can use that wealth to do other things, like give it to nonprofits, although those are good things. But the opportunity to partner with God on earth today by building businesses that the very nature of the business, how we treat our employees, the goods and services that we delight our customers with, the ways that we heal them, is actually the redemptive work itself. Now, if we happen to make money as investors or founders, that's really cool, and we can do good things with it. But my big takeaway when I think about this is you're not pursuing success first and then significance. Significance is in the work right now.
Woo.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Evan. And it's the reason why, and first of all, my business partner is Jewish. So I'm Christian, but we both have very much conviction that we need to be socially responsible and be good stewards of God's earth and the resources that we have, both our financial and our time. And so we started investing in Henry Crown Fellow-founded businesses, in part because not only are they badass businesses that are going to bring us returns for our investors, but we know that they are seeking to do something good for society. And in fact, Evan, the slogan is from success to significance. That is so, and yet it's right now because those entrepreneurs are between 35 and 45 when they're selected. So we're totally aligned on that.
You know, I hop in when I hear the question faith-driven investing, and I immediately think scripture and rather predictable text, but Matthew 25 is the famous parable of the talents. And it's this great parable where Jesus says, hey, a master is going away, and during the master's return trip away, he calls together 3 servants and says, hey, to one of you I'm going to entrust 5 talents, a unit of currency, to another 2, to the other 1. Master goes off, comes back, and then now wants an accounting for, hey, what's happened to his talents, this unit of currency, upon return. And the servants come together. The first one says, Master, you gave me 5. Here's 10. Pretty good, 100% returns. The second one comes up, Master, you gave me 2 talents. Here is 4. I was able to double it, 100% return. And then for any of you finance bros in the crowd who are like, well, how long is the master gone? That's key for IRR. Like, get that out of here. It's Sunday. Like, we don't want to hear that. But then the final one comes up and says, Master, you gave me 1. I believed you to be a hard and a cruel man, made wrongful assumptions about the master. Here's your 1 back. I was afraid to go do anything wrong with this. And I think the takeaways there, and now that what the master says to the first 2 is, well done, good and faithful servant, to the final one says, you wicked and slothful servant, take what's yours and give it to the other one. And I think the takeaways there is the first, that the final one, their crime was not being a poor investor. Their crime was not knowing the master. Properly knowing the master's heart. And so I think for us, when I hear the word faith-driven investing, the first thing that it comes down to is getting on your hands and knees before the Father and truly understanding the Father and his heart. The other piece of that is you actually don't go see what servants number 1 and 2 go do to double their talents from 5 to 10 and 2 to 4. And so I think there is freedom in the way God has uniquely equipped each of you, the capital to steward, the funds you bestow, whatever that might look like, to go honor the Father, honor the Master, and what that looks like. And so what we say at Faith Driven Investor is this is neither prescriptive or presumptuous. There's no limits to what God can do to someone who is in unity with him, in prayer with him, and then sets them free to go invest in a way that they feel compelled and convicted to go do.
Dude, speaking of that, one of the things God's put on our hearts at Eagle Venture Fund is solving some of the world's greatest problems through investing in early stage technology companies. You guys probably all know like your favorite nonprofit. They raise money, they go serve a group of people, they raise some more money, they go serve a group of people, they struggle to raise money, they go serve a group of people, and on it goes. They can do some amazing work, but there's that constant challenge. One of the things we love about especially tech or software companies is that if you get a great company and you build it strongly, then it can just scale and scale and scale as the revenue comes in. And so we say a lot of times that profit is like breathing. It's not a reason to live, but it's a really great thing that you want to have if you do the work that you're supposed to do. So at Eagle, our passion is solving problems like human trafficking, like recidivism for returning citizens, and trying to help them solve problems in their lives. The problem is, at a nonprofit, the person that you're serving can't actually pay for the service. A trafficked woman can't actually solve the problem for her. So we need these people from outside to come serve her. Well, in a nonprofit, you can kick down doors and rescue. You can set up a rescue home, or you can work on rehabilitation through education. But how would you do that in a for-profit way? And what we find is there are banks with financial technology that they need to work on. If the bank finds out about that information, then we can actually help the trafficked woman and keep the trafficker from making money. If there's hospital systems that have frontline workers, they actually have businesses that can sell to those hospital systems, because then you've got, when people go into the hospital because that they've been hurt or because that they've been injured in their trafficking experience, that person can look out for them, give them the help they need at that time, and get them rescued and get them out. So we find as long as a business has a pain point and they're willing to pay for that solution that you're providing, then you can do really great and amazing work and solve some of these great problems.
So Patrick, when I think about redemptive business, the word that pops out into my mind is an Old Testament word called avodah. And avodah occurs 800 times in the Old Testament, and it's one word that God uses with three meanings: work, worship, and service. And so we're all uniquely created in our Father's image for predestined works that He's created us for. And so the question is, as we manage our businesses, how do we serve our fellow man and improve their quality of life? Our God is a creator, so how do we create really great things and use that as a form of our worship? And so we really focus in on that word in our portfolio companies.
That's amazing. And as you can see, guys, we're talking about significance. We're talking about relationship, worship, sustainability. There's a lot of things that God is doing in and through businesses. But from y'all's perspective, obviously thinking a little bit more forward-leaning, we've seen a lot of these things develop more and more over the last few years. But what are you guys getting excited about in the future, or where are you seeing opportunity to lean into this space right now?
One of the exciting things about being in Austin, this is my home city now, I've been here for 5 years, is Austin seems to be like a modern day crossroads. God's bringing all kinds of great people to Austin. There's a lot of great things going on here. The two areas that I'm most excited about is healthcare in general in the United States, in figuring out the health insurance issue and providing low cost, high quality healthcare to people. And then the second thing is specifically on the African continent and general services around power, around communication, and a lot of these technologies are being developed here in Austin, and that's a blessing.
Yeah, I'll say on a macro scale, U.S. GDP is somewhere between 20 to 25 trillion, and traditionally Americans have given somewhere around 2 to 3% of GDP a year, which is roughly $500 billion to charity a year. Contrast that to, there's probably $130 trillion in global managed assets sitting inside of banks, venture capital funds, financial advisors, stewardship, pension funds, you name it. And so when you think about our 2 to 3% that's going to charity, and you think about the $120 to $130 trillion that sits in global managed assets, and the UN says, hey, it's going to take probably $2 to $3 trillion annually to achieve some of our solution to the world's greatest problems that Vip kind of talked about, I get really excited about how Christ followers are on the forefront of saying, hey, giving will always be a crucial piece of the biblical call to generosity. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave. 2 Corinthians 9, the Lord loves a cheerful giver. There is absolutely a place for the reverse tither and people that give exceptionally, but there is so much money sitting on the sidelines in passive kind of managed assets that are doing nothing. And it doesn't just have to be our charitable dollars that are at work to kind of further redemptive, flourishing purposes. And you're hearing it right here with like impressive institutional fund managers who are saying, hey, these hundreds of millions of dollars that we look after can actually drive both a profit purpose, but also a redemptive purpose as well. And so I get pumped about seeing kind of like asleep assets come awake.
One of the things I'm most excited about in this ecosystem is the idea of community. So you guys at Potomac Angel Network have started an amazing network of people in Washington, D.C. that come together, you invest together, you talk together, spend time together. At Faith Driven Entrepreneur, they help entrepreneurs come together for 8 weeks at a time and just get to know one another, share the challenges, and talk through some of the things that their businesses can learn about. They have those opportunities for investors. At Lions Den, 10 years ago when we started the Lions Den, there was only one venture capital firm we knew that had anything to do with faith in the whole planet. And now, 10 years later, y'all had an event recently, 168 venture capital funds came together. And it's just amazing to see the growth of this ecosystem and how people are coming together and wanting that community. So if you're an entrepreneur out there today, you're facing the challenges of raising money, you're facing the challenges of paying your employees and doing your books, make sure to find local network through the Austin Faith Driven Entrepreneur Network, through Redemptive Labs here in Austin. Come to the Lions Den, April 10th and 11th in Dallas. It's a great global network of 500 or 600 entrepreneurs and investors that'll come together. Find community so you're not doing this alone.
So I'm really excited about a couple of areas that are really helping with human flourishing right now with biotech companies as well as clean tech. I'm really excited about the space tech that has really been taking off and really here in Austin as well. And I'm super excited about the defense tech focus here in Austin. We've had, Evan and I were just talking about it, some of you guys about what we have seen in this South by. And I would say one thing that has really been elevated in this South by to me is how many government leaders are here wanting to invest in startups. And that's really bringing a big cash infusion. Like Army Futures Command here in Austin has put in something like $300 million per year in non-dilutive funds into startups that are dual use. And that's really helping to propel our startup community. And I'm hoping that it keeps going, and I believe it will.
Just a quick one. I'm excited to see Christians play potentially a new and different role in two related areas. One is psychedelics, and the other is food. So if you think 10 years ago, you go to your average, Baptist basement covered dish event, most of us are overweight. We probably drink too much. We're eating stuff out of cartons, and we think people doing psychedelics are like Timothy Leary and should be in jail. What's really exciting is that now there's possibly a redemptive movement here at the beginning to say, actually, the stuff that we're eating, that we're feeding our kids, is not just killing our bodies, it's killing our brains. And it's also the case that there are mushrooms that were probably in the garden that could be an ingredient to help us reduce our reliance on SSRIs, achieve breakthrough recovery for people with bulimia or treatment-resistant depression, other form of psychoses. And how cool would it be that Christians are not saying, oh no, these things scare me, and instead saying, wow, how is God at work in these new areas of technologies and a chance to reconnect with the earth, reconnect in our bodies in a way that we feel alive and designed and thriving as we were made to be, to eat things that are from the earth. Anyway, so I think there's interesting political and theological currents happening right now, and to have Christians at South by talking about these futuristic topics gives me great encouragement.
Yeah, that's amazing. And we're seeing God move into every area through entrepreneurship and through capital. Just participating in his redemptive work, it's part of the process. So thanks for sharing that, Evan. We only have a couple minutes left here, but I wanted to just ask, if you were thinking about an entrepreneur or a founder here in the crowd, and you had one thing to say that would encourage them, what would that be?
Pick a problem in the world. Whether it's hunger, addiction, trafficking, anything like that, pick a problem and go figure out a for-profit way to solve that problem. Because I'm telling you, the answers to scale the solutions are not just in nonprofits. There's a lot of money out there and a lot of opportunity to solve these problems. We're working with one group, Patient Sortal is a company out of the Northeast. They saw that ex-cons coming out of prison only get 30 days worth of meds. but it's 120 days before those guys actually get access to Medicaid. So there's a 90-day gap where they have no medicine, which is no big deal. If you're taking psychedelics, you could just go find something. But if you're taking insulin, that'll kill you. And so they're committing a crime to go back into jail, or they're going through state hospital systems and costing the states hundreds of millions of dollars. And so this entrepreneur saw the problem and he jumped on it. And it turns out he's serving well, he's helping a lot of people return to their community and live well, but he's also making a lot of money. He's got 6 states waiting in line right now for his product.
We started a club here called The Arena, and just to channel a little Teddy Roosevelt for you, the amazing thing about the Man in the Arena speech is he rebukes the people, the critics that are on the sidelines, the timid souls. But when he speaks to the person in the arena, it's important to remember people in the arena, like, we don't always win. In fact, often we lose. And he talks about trying over and over and over again. Even if you repeatedly try, and even if you only fail, you're still better than the timid soul who's on the sidelines. Because the person on the sidelines knows neither victory nor defeat. So whether your company fails, I've had some fail, whether your day fails or your product launch fails, just channel that spirit. It is way better to know defeat and live in it than to know neither. Thank you for that.
For me, advice to an entrepreneur would be to spend time with God to understand what you're being called to do. Ephesians 2:10 says that we are God's handiwork, created through Christ Jesus to do good works that he's predestined for us. And so spending time there and understanding how he's uniquely designed you, created you, and called you to address things in the world. And then the second thing is to find community. Find people that are on a similar journey that can walk with you or a little bit ahead of you to help you. And so in Austin, we have quite a few entities that do that. Things like Praxis, the Austin Center for Faith and Works, the Foundry, Austin Bridge Builders Alliance. There's quite a few places to find community, to walk together, to build things of greatness.
I would say be resilient and expect that you will hear no over and over and over, and just keep asking. And ask with the same energy and with the same commitment that you did when you asked the first person, when you're speaking with the 100th. And you will eventually start having doors unlocked, and you just have to keep going.
Yeah, I think I'd close with just, what's the great commandment? Love God and love neighbor. And you've got an opportunity every single day at work to live that out. Whether you are an entrepreneur out on the cutting edge or whether you're just at work, you get the opportunity to live out the great commandment, not just on Sundays from like 9 to 10:30 a.m., but in the midst of your kind of worship with your hands as well.
Let's give a round for our panelists here. All right, well, we're about to transition just real briefly. We're gonna get the pitches started here shortly. I'm gonna move on to the panel. Vip's gonna jump back into the MC role, and we'll get started here shortly.
That was great, wasn't it? Don't you think that was really good? Tremendous. I'm telling you, I've been in this business for a long time, and the quality of the discussion today is really first rate. I mean, just think of the point that you just heard. We think it's all about just this tremendous cycle of winning. Anyone in venture capital and startups has had a failure. It's not about how many failures you had. It's about the next success that you have. That's all you need. So hang with it and do it. And so now we're moving into the entertainment portion of today's meeting, where we'll have companies come out and actually pitch as they would to a venture capital panel. Here we are. And they will give a response and ask questions of that. If they go over a time limit, we have this little lion roar. Cue the roar. He's sleeping. The lion is sleeping in the grass. It's kind of interesting. But that's where we are today. This will be fantastic. Now the entertainment portion is about to happen. Vip will come out and introduce the first company.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Andrew Asher of Lucid Bots. He is a Y Combinator funded company This is solid technology. If you look at some of the high-rises in the area or some of the domes on the buildings in town, these guys fly drones around those buildings and get them clean the safest way possible. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Andrew. Woohoo!
All right, hi everyone. I really love what I do, and I feel blessed I get to share our story and vision with you all today. Again, my name's Andrew Asher. I'm the founder of Lucid Bots, and our vision is to uplift humanity by building the world's most productive robots, starting with drones that can clean buildings. In order to understand our story, I want to start with the why of our company. Several years ago, I saw window washers cleaning a large building on a breezy day. The platform they were on got stuck in the wind, started slamming against the side of the building. The workers were up there white-knuckling these rails, hanging on for dear life. While most of us were looking on in terror, we asked what seemed like such a simple question. How could we leverage technology to make this job safer? Over the years, though, we've realized we're solving a much bigger problem than just making a dangerous job safe. It's a fundamental fact that there are less people willing to do jobs that are considered dull, dirty, or dangerous, as evidenced by the 200% turnover rate in the cleaning industry. So let's imagine for a second that you own a cleaning company and you get contracted to go and clean an 8-story building. Today, it would take a crew of your workers days to weeks to get the job done, while our drone could do it in a matter of hours. You'd need to rent a really big lift that could cost you over $10,000 a month, while our drone would cost you a fraction of that. Last but not least, you're elevating your workers above ground on these lifts, ladders, scaffolds, and our technology could relocate workers to the ground so that nobody has to get hurt and nobody has to die. And I want to promise you, this isn't a fairy tale version of the future. If you look at the right half of each of these images, we have customers around the country cleaning anything from church steeples to corporate headquarters, all the way to industrial tanks. This is a brief video of our drone in action. It's tethered by hose to an on-ground cleaning system capable of spraying any liquid solution, making it really flexible in terms of the surfaces and structures it can clean. Our customers have cleaned anything from Okay.
Just a warning, just a warning.
Yeah. Our customers have cleaned anything from windows to roofs. Here's the before, here's the after, all the way to these industrial tanks. And as mentioned, one of my favorites, stadium domes. So how do we make money? I want to be clear, we are not a cleaning company. We provide our technology to existing companies, helping them do more jobs in less time with less liabilities. We'll sell our drones for $45,000, an annual support package of $6,000 a year. And because we engineer, manufacture, and support this technology domestically in Charlotte, we make a really compelling margin, and our products are cyclical with a 2-year embedded lease. So you might be thinking, that seems like an expensive drone, and I'd encourage you to consider, well, how much money can our customers make with this technology? And one example, we had a customer nearly double their monthly revenue by just incorporating our technology, adding $300,000 in revenue to their top line, plus saving a ton of money on lifts, workers' compensation, etc. Now, we're a pretty unique startup because I like to say we've got the best of both worlds. Our technology is applying to one of the largest markets that exists, which is the future of work. And I'll talk more about this in a bit. But on the other side, we're becoming increasingly capital efficient each and every year. We're on a very aggressive growth curve where we did $3.5 million last year and are on pace to do $10 million this year. To unpack those numbers a little bit more in our capital efficiency, we've grown at about 193% year over year since 2020. Last year alone, we improved our margins by 14%, only grew our headcount modestly while reducing our burn. Now, if we revisit our business model, we make roughly $25,000 a year per drone. And the number we obsess over is, what does it look like to get to $100 million in revenue? For us, that's about 4,000 drones in air. And I'm happy to say that's a very digestible number. One of our largest customers is Sunbelt Rentals. They've got over 1,000 locations with dozens of our drones already in their fleet, and their leadership team has presented us a plan on how they want to get to thousands of drones in air together by 2027. And we know there are a lot of other Sunbelt-sized customers for us to go and win. Now, I don't want to go too deep into the technology, but when most people think of drones today, they think of these small platforms that carry a fixed payload like a camera, and they're taking pictures, videos, collecting data from the world around them. When we think about drones, we think about an industrial platform that's capable of physically affecting the world around it and doing a productive task like cleaning. So with our drone, we're carrying a variable payload in the size of a hose. It weighs a different amount 5 feet off the ground than it does 100 feet off the ground. We're also flying in difficult environments where most drones can't fly today, often within 10 feet of these built structures, sometimes in urban settings. So we've built a unique sensor array that allows us to fly in these challenging environments, and an algorithm where it self-switches between sensors depending on where it's getting the highest quality of data. Now, to keep talking and unpacking the product, when we talk about it internally, we don't think of it as a cleaning drone. We think about it as a modular robotic platform that we can put different top hats on, but reuse that base of the pyramid to go faster with high levels of capital efficiency. So what does that look like? We're able to reuse our operations, our physical frame, the Sherpa, and then the brain of this drone, and focus on attaching different tools and payloads to then address different market opportunities. We've been focused on cleaning, but these payload options can range anywhere from painting to delivery. When we think about that from a market perspective, we could be in cleaning for years and years before we fully saturate it, but our core technology applies to all of these markets as well. Everything you see in green on this slide, we've already proved out a successful proof of concept, again, ranging from painting to delivery. To tell a short story, last year we had a customer come to us who said, hey, I've got $150,000 for you if you can build me a heavy lift, autonomous delivery drone. And we took our core cleaning drone platform and built that for the customer in less than a week. Now, who are we? People who know me would probably label me as a mega nerd who's capable of high output. For some background, I started Lucid when I was a junior in college. I was playing a Division I sport, doing a double major, working 3 jobs, and ended up graduating in 3 years to really focus on Lucid full time. Chris joins us from a decorated background at Wells Fargo, where he led their Southeast investment banking, helping a lot of tech companies achieve successful exits. Scott joins us from United Rentals, where he learned how to sell effectively into this industry and also manage their sales development program. And then we've got Robert, who's one of the earliest names in the drone space, having previously founded a drone startup that built drones for avalanche control. So why are we up here today? We're raising $4 million to accelerate our growth and are happy to say we've already got $3 million of this committed. To keep it simple, we're really doubling down on our product and increasing the autonomous capabilities of what our robots are able to do. From a sales and marketing perspective, it's really growing headcount. To give some context, up until about halfway through last year, we were a team of just 2 salespeople and still only have 1 marketing person. So with this additional capital, we can really accelerate our revenue growth. And then from an operations perspective, it's doubling down on what we already know is working well. Now, I want to encourage everybody in the audience to reflect on the question, what do we know to be true about the future? Because that question is what gives us a lot of passion and purpose at Lucid. And we feel like we're doing the right work because we acknowledge 3 truths about the future. The first truth is that the future of work is robots. What makes us distinctly human isn't the ability to do a physically repetitive task. It's the ability to be creative, to problem solve. And with our technology, we can not only make jobs safer and more efficient, we can make them more humane as well. The second truth we acknowledge is all things that move will be automated. It doesn't matter if it's a car, a boat, or a robot. But the third and most important of these is it's that combination, robots and automation, that can unlock a world of abundance and opportunity. So for those listening to this that are passionate about uplifting humanity by building the world's most productive robots, we'd love to connect.
Awesome. Give it up for Andrew. Now we're going to jump into just about 5 minutes of Q&A. There's the lion. We've been waiting on that one. Disclaimer for this panel, Potomac Angel Capital, we know Andrew pretty well. And the lion does too now, I guess. We know Andrew pretty well. We've invested in him 3 times, so I could ask some questions, but I know him pretty well. I'll leave it up to you guys and maybe the lion to ask some more questions.
Hey, tell me this. I have to imagine that the cleaning business has pretty low margins. When you look at those other sort of use case applications, the de-icing, the painting, et cetera, I'm assuming those have a lot more margin. And if so, why'd you start on the low margin one? And what does the business look like when you move to a high margin one?
Sure. So one of the reasons we started with cleaning is the regulatory environment. Our technology can exist within the existing FAA regulations today. And truthfully, the other reason is the opportunity God presented with us. You know, we saw window washers hanging off the side of a building, not painters that day. So in a way, we started by accident, but now because we've built the most difficult parts of the technology, we've got all these other adjacent markets we can go after.
How defensible is your product? Do you have patents?
We do. We've got several patents. We're now on a quarterly cycle where we file a new patent every quarter. And the way I often like to describe it is it took thousands and thousands of flights just to be able to clean a building successfully. And about 2.5 years in, I started to wonder, could drones actually clean buildings? So it was only through that really difficult journey that we eventually figured it out. It was a lot of trial and error.
Great. And follow-up question, how many years do the drones last? If someone purchases a drone, how many years do they expect?
It's typically about 2 to 3, and it will vary depending on how well they take care of their drones. These drones are used every day on dirty, dusty work sites. So it's kind of like a car. If you take great care of it and you maintenance it, it can last longer. But if you don't, you're going to have to service it much more frequently.
So it's definitely not an inexpensive asset. How long does it take to put the asset to work? How long does it take to actually learn how to fly a drone and use it?
I love this question. If you go on our YouTube page, you'll see a somewhat comical video of my 86-year-old grandma learning to fly a drone. And I promise, in less than 5 minutes, she picked this up and was operating it. So you do not need a PhD in engineering. We built this to be very, very simple and have a lot of experience training hundreds of pilots on how to use it.
Is there any licensing or certifications that you have to fly a drone?
Yeah, you need what's known as your Part 107 license if you're ever flying a drone commercially. It's not even a hands-on test. It's 60 questions, multiple choice, behind a computer.
I think we all naturally hear robots and we start to think humans losing jobs. And you know, one of the redemptive things people love is job creation, whereas this maybe could be the antithesis of that. Speak to that a little bit and kind of the redemptive side of deploying robots as opposed to humans in the labor force.
Thanks for asking this question, because it's a really important one in the robotics industry. People get uncomfortable when they hear the word robots. They think about job displacement. And I think the best thing we can do here is point to history and really study the history of technology. If you rewind the clock about 100 years, there's a 40% chance that I would have worked in agriculture or farming. Today, only about 1.6% of our workforce works in agriculture and farming. And that's a lot of job transformation and displacement. But at the same time, hunger levels have never been lower. So what technology does is it allows humans to solve increasingly meaningful problems, whether that be problems of hunger, homelessness, happiness.
So we've been walking together for a long time, it feels like now, at least the last few years. And I've watched you kind of grow and scale this business with limited capital, coming from an underserved market. Again, just thinking about the founders in the crowd, what would you say to them for folks who are trying to raise their business in maybe a capital environment that isn't as conducive for a capital-intensive business like yours?
Gosh, there's a lot of difficulties in raising capital, and I often think the best solutions are the simplest ones. And we didn't go out and hire a massive team of robotics engineers that cost an astronomical amount of money. I'm a self-taught engineer. There are so many resources at your fingertips that are free. So I taught myself mechanical, electrical, and software engineering without paying a dime to build our earliest robots. So that's part of how we've been able to be so capital efficient is I really leaned into that open growth mindset and said, hey, you know what? I can go out there and learn what I need to learn and don't need to raise millions of dollars just to bring this product to market. Because the fastest path to success is getting to a no or yes as soon as possible. So that's been our journey.
We're out of time. Everyone give it up for Andrew from Lucid.
Well done.
next up, we've got Morgan. She's going to share with us about her company. If you've been to Target, Whole Foods, or some of the other grocery stores in the area, you'll see some of her products and recognize her from there. She's going to share with you a bit about one of her dreams that turned into her entrepreneurial journey. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Morgan with Gnarly.
Hey, y'all. I'm Morgan. It's Gnarly. Once you say Gnarly, you'll never say granola the same again. So I also brought y'all some snacks. So if you answer my questions, you'll get snacks at the end if I can chunk them over this edge. So I'm Morgan with Gnarly, like he said. I want to ask y'all a question. How many of y'all eat granola? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of y'all are obsessed with the granola you eat and can name it, like name the brand? Okay, just a few, see? How many people eat granola as a topping, like you're pouring it on something for breakfast? Okay, so I'm gonna change y'all's mind about granola. Let's do this. So the problem right now, the current granola on the market, as you probably know, is pretty boring. It all looks the same. It's like clear, clean, white packaging. It all speaks to the same consumer profile. I like to think it's a little basic. And it's usually a tasteless crunch. You put it on top of things. You're not eating it by itself. But as y'all can look around and see, a lot of people eat granola. So I wanted to make granola fun, and I'll tell you why in just a second. So Gnarly is the solution. It is gnarly granola. I'll tell y'all how I got that name in just a minute too, but it's the world's one and only first whiskey-baked granola. So we actually bake whiskey into our granola. Whiskey is made from grains, so it kind of comes full circle. We use funky flavors. We have low sugar, no seed oils, very clean ingredients, like 10 ingredients in all of our blends. And Gnarly is more than just granola. It's a lifestyle. I like to invite people in to join our community and go against the grain in their life. So we are the main event, not just the sprinkle on top. So I'm going to tell y'all my story a little bit. I was encouraged to do this, and it's a crazy one. And after listening to y'all's panel, I'm going off script a little bit, but I was compelled to say this. I have a degree in animal science. I thought I was going to be a vet, but looking back over my life, I have always had an entrepreneurial spirit, but I always thought my ideas were stupid or that people would make fun of them or they were just silly and I shouldn't do them. And it was the week before I was about to go snowboarding. I love snowboarding. And I went to sleep one night and I woke up and I had this dream, and it was put whiskey in granola and call it Gnarly. And I woke up and everyone was like, what were you doing the night before? I was not drinking, I was sleeping. And to be honest, I didn't even really like whiskey at the time. But I woke up, I had Fireball whiskey at my house, and I made it, and I took it on our snowboarding trip in these little baggies with no label, and I started passing it out to everyone. They were like, what is this? But they were like, this is so good, and that's how Gnarly started. And the verse that has kept me going is Psalm 34:8, which you can see right here behind me. I guess I might be standing in front of this, sorry. The verse is, taste and see that the Lord is good. And since that night, my life has changed in so many ways. Like, I get up here and do this because I'm called to do it, but it makes me so nervous. Like, I passed out in my first speech class I ever took, giving a speech. So I think the thing about the Lord is he calls the unqualified, like he qualifies us. And I don't have to do this without him, and he far exceeds any expectations I ever have. So that's a little bit about my story. We are working on a new mission, and it goes with a lot of what y'all are saying. And we want to create better for you snacks to fuel an abundant life based on John 10:10, that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I come to give you life and life abundant. And like you said, Evan, I just feel like fueling your body with healthy ingredients helps you live a better life all around. So how do you do that? You eat Gnarly, expect adventure in everything, and embrace abundance in life. Oh, wow, thanks. Okay, so let's talk about our blends. As you can see, we have our gnarly oat-eating llama. His name is Otis, like an oat. And these are our 5 blends we offer right now. We have the OG and Marty Party. Those are our 2 whiskey-baked granolas. I went to college in Louisiana and became obsessed with king cake. I don't know if y'all have had that, but our Marty Party is our best seller. And then everyone's like, what if I'm pregnant or what if I'm under 21? I'm like, you can still eat Gnarly, the whiskey, it bakes out. But we did 3 without whiskey just to be safe. So we have our Espresso Yourself, which is crunchy caffeine. It's dark chocolate espresso. We have Skinny Jeans, which is our vegan blend. It kind of tastes like, I say like pumpkin spice. It's a spice blend. And then we have Groovy Green, which is one of my favorites because it has no added sugar. And it's actually sweetened with avocados, dates, and maple syrup, and apples. So those are our 5 blends that you could find nationwide. So I'm like, well, how much time we got left? So my birthday's tomorrow, and 3 years ago, on my 29th birthday, I'm aging myself here. I woke up and I was like, Lord, you gave me this dream. I love this. I don't want to stop doing this, but something's got to change because I don't want to be the broke entrepreneur at 30. I'm like, I want to keep doing this, but like, I need something to change. And it was halfway through 2022. I was road tripping back from Georgia back to Austin, and Target called me. And they were like, hey, I was only in 10 stores, y'all. I was only in 10 stores in Austin ever, and in Whole Foods. And they called me, and they were like, we found you during an offsite in Austin, and we want to bring you nationwide at Target. Can you do it? And I was like, well, I can't do it, but the Lord can do it with me. And so that's what I love to preach, is all it takes is a yes. And I just feel like when you're called to do something, he will make a way. And so I said yes, and we launched nationwide in Target last June. So we went from 10 stores to 600 stores overnight, which is crazy. So some more big wins that we've had in the past year. Like I said, over 600 stores. We launched in the Kroger brand as well. So we're in King Soopers in Colorado and hope to expand more in the Kroger brand this year. We launched in Target. We're launching in Sprouts nationwide, which is on the DL. Y'all get to hear that first, in April. And then we launched on Amazon last week. So lots of exciting things. So yeah, more about granolas. As I mentioned, there's a lot of what I've learned over the years. I never made granola before Granarly. Let me just say that too. It wasn't like my grandma's recipe or anything. But what I found is a lot of flavors are boring. It's a stagnant category, high in sugar, lots of seed oils. A lot of the granola y'all probably eat has like canola oil and sunflower oil, things like that. And a lack of personality and a memorable brand. And so Granarly, we do funky flavors, fun names, loud packaging. We're an adventure brand, and it's more relatable, inspiring, and identifiable on the shelf. So people have loved that, as you can see here. Not to dog on Nature Valley. They are still the largest granola company in America, but I'm praying and believing that Granarly will be next. So here's the Granarly gang. Davina's going to hate this. She's in the crowd. This is my crew. Until about 6 months ago, it was pretty much me and a lot of amazing people that I've been able to surround myself with. But I just brought Summer on board to help with operations and supply chain and logistics. And then Davina is helping me with marketing, and my intern Sage, teaching me all the things about TikTok that I do not know. I'm losing my voice. I sang karaoke last night. So our distribution strategy last year was to launch into national retailers, which we did. This year, we're working on growing our velocities in those stores, launching Sprouts and launching on Amazon, and really learning who is buying Granarly, because for a while, I was just selling to the Morgans of the world, but when you launch nationwide in these retailers, it changes a bit. And then next year, I want to focus on airline distribution. I would love to be in flight. It's very on brand for us. A big box retail like a Costco, or and also convenience stores. So we have some new products we're working on for those distribution channels. So we believe every human has an adventurous life within, but are afraid to live outside of their comfort zone. And that was me, y'all. Like, I was afraid to be me, and I feel like Granarly has allowed me to be more Morgan every single day. I get to wake up and meet amazing people. People love snacks. I'm sure all of you love snacks. And I meet people on airplanes and like literally snowboarding. I was slinging snacks on the freaking ski lift, and they were like, what is this? And whether they're Christian or not, I just get to love on everybody and give them snacks, and it opens the door to conversation. And I always say, with Otis as your adventure guide, you're never alone. And I feel like that's the Lord with us. Like, we're called to things that make us scared or afraid, but we get to step out and have the Lord with us and guide us. And here's a few pictures of Granarly in the wild that I wanted to show. Just our pouches are waterproof, so you can actually like jump in the lake with them, take them swimming, as you can see here. I really want to create products that you can take out with you and enjoy no matter what you're doing. Yeah, so let's move and group together. Here's me in Colorado with Granarly, and that's everything with Granarly. But I want to throw y'all some of this.
Morgan.
What's up? I don't know if I can do this, but we're gonna see. Who wants some Granarly? Let's just like. How many of y'all in the crowd have tried Granarly? I have to know. Okay, well, we got some new granola lovers. Here you go. Here, y'all get some too. Here, y'all get. I think that's all I got. I'm gonna lose my voice, so here you go. Pass it around. All right. There's the roar.
There's your roar.
Awesome. Thank you, Morgan. Panelists, questions for Morgan.
Pass
Yeah, I
them
gotta
down.
pass it down. Sorry.
Yeah, pass
I'll
them
take one
down. You,
myself.
my favorite thing to do is eat granarly and talk. So I highly encourage that. Eat with your mouth full.
That's the perfect
Talk with your mouth full.
panelist is going to have a
Yeah.
bunch of food in their mouth while they're
Yeah,
asking you
exactly.
questions. So.
We give you permission.
Do you imagine ever a non-granola product, and what does that mean for the name Granarly?
I love that question. Thank you. That's why I say Granarly is an adventure brand, because I think we'll always, like, my tried and true basis is we're nut-free and we're never promising grain-free. I think we'll always incorporate granola-esque or oats, gluten-free oats into our products, but I am innovating a lot. I think personally, I've been running a lot lately, and I struggle getting enough protein, and I don't like to eat a lot of sugar. And I woke up one day, and I was like, wait, I own a snack company. I can kind of expand here and do this and create something that I would eat. So I think we'll always have oats in our products, but Granarly doesn't have to just be granola.
Awesome presentation.
Thank
Maybe
you.
break down the economics for all of us, like Shark Tank style. What does it cost you to make? How much does it sell for? 23 revenue, 24 revenue. Are you profitable? Kind of help us kind of there.
Oh yeah, great question. So we are not quite profitable yet. I'll give you a little perspective. I'm very vulnerable about my business. We did like 50 grand in revenue in 2022, and last year we did over 300,000. So huge jump with Target, and that was with half a year in sales. Right now we actually sell 10-ounce bags, not the snack packs anymore, and it costs me around $315 on average to produce, and we sell to Target around $525. So one of my goals this year, we're raising money, but I really want to increase our margins because they are pretty low. We're about 15% profit margin right now, and I'm going to get that up to like 35%, and that will come at scale. So.
And just jumping on the back of that question, I know that I don't know much about CPG, but I know that when you're going with these big retailers, they're putting pressure on you usually to lower the price, and obviously you want to increase margins to provide returns to investors. How do you maintain like the spirit and the impact of what you're doing with some of those pressures as you scale across retailers?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you want to have the right price point on shelf or people aren't going to buy it, right? And that's what I've learned at Target, to be frank. Like, being in Target is really cool, right? But they want you to sell it at a lower price, and then you have a lot of barriers because it's Kind Bar, Nature Valley, Purely Elizabeth, all these brands that have a lot of dollars, deep pockets, and then Granarly, and then it's whiskey granola, and it's a higher price granola, right? And so I think when people read the ingredients, know we're certified gluten-free, certified kosher, all these things, they are okay paying a higher price. But the back end that people don't see is you're paying distributors and you're paying brokers, and there's all these things that go into it. So that's something we're learning every single day, to be honest.
I'm curious about where you manufacture and where you source your ingredients.
Yeah, so I was producing or manufacturing in Louisiana, and when Target called me, I changed everything in my company for scale, and we found a granola manufacturer in Loveland, Colorado. So it is manufactured in Colorado, which gives me a great excuse to go out there all the time, and they're amazing. And what was the second part of your question?
Where you source your ingredients?
They source all of our ingredients as local as possible in Colorado, in the States for sure, and then our certified gluten-free oats actually come from Canada. Yeah.
Congratulations on building a great business. You're in Target everywhere.
Yes.
You're looking at scaling. What do you think your biggest problem is to solve here in the short term?
Oh, in the short term for scaling? I think it is really getting in, like, to be honest, I've never built a business before, so there's a lot of, I would say cleanup, but a lot of lessons learned. I would do a lot of things differently if I was starting a new company today. So it's a lot of that, like, I'm very open-handed with Granarly, and I love feedback, and it's a lot of unlearning what I've taught myself of, like, why are we paying X amount of dollars for packaging? And most of the time it's because I love the people that own the packaging company. And people who are in business are like, Morgan, you can love the people, but you don't have to buy expensive packaging from them. And so I think it's just learning what makes sense, where we can cut costs in order to scale. Yeah.
Sounds like you were on your own for a little bit. I know we only have 40 seconds left, but again, with the theme of like, how do we speak to entrepreneurs in the audience? What would you tell an entrepreneur who's feeling lonely, isolated, trying to build something themselves? What kind of encouragement would you give?
I would say lean on the people around you and don't be afraid to ask questions. I have slid in so many DMs and asked so many people for help, but most of the time, especially in Austin, in the CPG space especially, people want to help you. And I think just being honest, like, hey, this is where I'm at. I don't know the answer to this question. Can you help me? And then also having a support system, like most of these people right here are my friends. And honestly, there are times that people have had to pull me out of my closet and be like, Morgan, get it together, you got this. Because it gets isolating and it gets really hard. So Just lean on your people.
Round of applause again for Morgan. Thanks for being here.
Great. Thank you, Morgan. And friends, that's why we call it Venturetainment. Wasn't she great? You know, so Morgan reminds me of sort of an instance we had a few years ago. Well, give me a minute. It'll be okay. So a few years ago, sat down with two friends of ours. Allison Ellsworth was having some stomach issues, and so she came up with a new idea for a drink, a retail pop drink, and that became basically the drink Poppy, which you may have heard about. That is Allison Ellsworth and her brother Steve, or her husband Stephen. So remember where you were today, 2 years from now, when she owns the granola market worldwide. Wasn't she great?
Next, we want to welcome up an entrepreneur from down under, Lucas Perry. He was a songwriter and a professional recording artist. Then he became a pastor. He left the recording life to be a pastor of a church and do church planting work for years. Then he became an entrepreneur. The man has patents as well. This is his second company. We're excited to hear about Glow today. Ladies and gentlemen, give a big old good day to our friend from down under.
Good stuff. Well, g'day everyone. Nice intro. My name's Lucas. I'm the founder and CEO of Glow. Born in Australia. I've been stateside now for 21 years. And we're raising $5 million to build the future of philanthropy. So educating and equipping a whole new generation of generosity. Primarily with Glow, we do two things. Okay, first of all, our main goal is to make giving delightful for the donor, for you and I, right? And we do that by, number one, making giving social. Okay, so we're a generation, we're a folk, we don't really trust anyone. The only people we trust are our friends, or maybe a select group of influencers in our life. And so giving has to be connected. It has to be in belonging. Second thing we do, giving has to be authentic, right? Again, we don't trust anything, right? So transparency is important to us. We want to know, where did the dollar go? We want to know the stories. Did we actually make an impact? Third thing, giving should be fun. Yes? Yes. Well, how often is it that giving isn't fun? We go to our website, there's like 17 pages in, and again, we don't trust anything. Lastly, giving should be easy, because all of us, we want to give to the best nonprofits doing the best work, but we're not going to spend hours to go find it, right? It's hard enough chasing up tax receipts at the end of the year. So when we talk about our first goal, we just want to make giving safe for us. Second thing, our goal is to unleash communities to give together. And what I mean by that is large communities coming together, pooling their resources, and then together deploying it effectively. We've seen this innovation come to the VC space, we've seen it in mutual funds, but it hasn't really come to philanthropy. We're changing that. So when we look in the world today and we look for where are the biggest communities, where do they exist? They exist around creators, influencers, artists, brands, and ideologies. Some of them are so big. I mean, Mr. Beast just now celebrated his 200 millionth subscriber, right? So now some of these communities are bigger than the platforms they were even built on. Can you imagine what would happen when they start giving together? Incredible. We actually think that in the next couple years, we're going to see some of these communities give away $1 billion a year. Thank you. I know, $1 billion seems crazy, right? 9 zeros. But here, it's a math problem, right? To give away $1 billion, all you need to do is get 2.1 million people giving $40 a month, and then in 1 year, you've given away $1 billion. Interesting, right? But we just don't think about that too often. We often think, well, I'm not a billionaire. How can I actually give like a billionaire? Well, I'm telling you, the future's here. And this is why we're going all in on this space. Let me ask you a question. If you had $1 billion to give away to solve one of the world's greatest problems, what would you do? What problem in the world would you solve? What's interesting, in a group like this, you've probably got 20 or 30 different ideas. And they're good ideas. And I reckon there's probably 1,000 people, maybe 100,000 people, maybe 1 million people who have the same idea as you. Our goal is to help you get connected with people with the same ideas as you and actually deploy effective capital to make a difference. Yes? Good. So Product-wise, here's the way it works. You're going to see this a lot coming. An artist will go on tour, and they'll just say, hey, guys, I'm passionate about convicts coming out of prison and getting another chance in life. We've heard about that today. And then they'll say, hey, why don't you join me? Participate. QR code will go on the screen, and you just join. You've actually seen one happening here at South by Southwest. I've been on a screen because we're saying, hey, let's give back as a community so that we can keep doing this. And then the community gives together, they vote to deploy the money, and then all the stories are told back within the community. You get an update every single month. And then you can even be rewarded for participating. So if an artist, if you join Taylor Swift's Glow community, she might give you discount tickets to her, or early access tickets. Any Swifties in the place? Okay, right? How hard is it to get? But this is the future, and this is what's coming. Also, we have a Glow Trust score. So we vet every single nonprofit on the platform through a 35-step vetting process, and we just transparently tell you, hey, here are the projects and the nonprofits we support and fund. But let me talk about generosity even on a bigger aspect. I mentioned earlier that we equip and educate a new generation of philanthropists. Okay, generosity is just a measure. You're either stingy or you're generous, right? And it's pretty much with everything in life. You name the thing, not just money, with your kindness, with your wonder, with your peace. And what's fascinating to me in the core underlying psychology behind Glow is that UC Berkeley, they did a white paper in 2018, and they looked at the science of generosity. They took all the research over 100 years, and this is what they found. Generous people live longer. Okay, Holy Grail, right? Generous people have stronger relationships, and generous people experience more joy. Who wants some of that in their life? Yes. When we think about Glow and we talk about Glow generosity promoting human flourishing, it's not only personal human flourishing, but can you imagine what the city looks like when generosity, when people get this stuff? What does a nation look like when people really start giving, experiencing generosity in their own life, and then deploying effective capital? I think it can impact and change the world. And it's really what we all actually want. We're going to do an experiment. You don't need to call this out, but in your mind, think about what level of joy are you experiencing right now? 1 to 10. 1 meaning you're depressed, 10 meaning you're elated hearing an Australian talk. Level of joy, go. Now, second, I want you to pull out your phone. Real quick, pull out your phone. Everyone do this. It's going to take 1 minute. I want you to think of someone, and I want you to send them a text, and I want you to tell them why you appreciate them. Be specific. Don't just say, I appreciate you, but actually say, man, I appreciate you for X. Go ahead, do it. I'll give you 30 more seconds. Then hit send, and then give me a thumbs up when you've done it. There we are. Good, good. Thumbs up are coming. What's awesome about this experiment, we've done this hundreds of times. People self-report, or actually, let me ask you this. Level of joy now between 1 and 10 after hitting send. 10, good, thank you. So we actually found that people self-report 2 to 4 basis points above just doing that one exercise. And what you experienced was generosity as an act of kindness. You were generous with your kindness. And now you wait until that person responds, and then you get another hit. So what's awesome to me is like this, the science of generosity is real, and it is in the world whether you believe it or not. We just want to help you experience it more to impact and change the world. For me, it all started in Africa. I was 17 years old, just became a Christian. I found myself in Africa building a school for kids. And I came back from that trip and I said, I want to spend the rest of my life inspiring people to change the world. And I became a musician, started doing music, started talking about my stories of travel and raising tens of millions of dollars for nonprofits. Then, like Vip said, I became a pastor. Then I went into the technology industry and helped influencers tell stories faster with branded video. And now I'm back solving the problem that I think I've always wanted. And here's why. Our generation will inherit $100 trillion over the next 40 years. We could become the most generous in all of history, but we're the most skeptical. Right back to my first problem that we have to solve. We could be the most generous, but we've got to unleash ourselves. We've got to unlock, and that's what Glow's committed to do. Literally, the name Glow means the feeling you should have when you're generous. You should feel good. As I wrap up, we actually believe the future of philanthropy is every one of us being equipped and educated to give like billionaires, right? Awesome. So, if you work with brands, if you're an influencer yourself or you know people, hit me up, scan this. If you're an investor and this type of thing floats your boat and you're like, this needs to be in the world, come and chat with me. We're looking for partners. We launched Proof of Concept in market a year ago, and I'll tell you, in the fall, the reason we're raising money is we'll be on tour with some of the biggest Grammy Award-winning artists that you've heard of. And I can't tell you the names, but it's coming and it's going to be pretty awesome. So thanks, guys. And I've got 30 seconds to go, and I'm a wrap. Thanks.
Nice job, Lucas. Give it up for him.
Nice.
Finishing well under the gun.
Thanks.
Investors, questions?
So, Lucas, you just said something right there at the end about Grammy award-winning artists. So what does that look like for their fans?
Yeah, so in their concert, you will see them just talking about whatever's meaningful to them. So if they're interested in foster care, or part of their story is maybe like they've been in prison and they want to help inmates, come out of prison with mental health initiatives, they'll just tell their story and then ask their fans to participate. And so, I think we're in the past, philanthropy by artists has been done of them giving surplus money and doing a press release about it. I think the future, though, is it's not that. It's fans participating with them and having a greater impact. So that's what you'll see. Kind of like a better way to do a fan club where it's actually their philanthropy.
It's been interesting to watch. I think in Nicki Minaj's album cover, she invited people to go create the full city inspired by the image cover. So you have fans co-creating on Midjourney and other generative AI to be part of the artist experience. Give us a vision. What does it look like to co-create in the context of giving or even spinning up new philanthropies with an artist or celebrity?
Yeah, I think the opportunities are pretty incredible, right? I think when you're co-creating, there's not really many platforms today that you can actually co-create with the artist, number one, or the influencer. Like, we kind of know them from an entertainer value, but actually they're humans too, right? Everyone that entertains you, they're human. And actually, so I think the opportunities of giving together, deploying capital, changing the world in some pretty phenomenal ways, there's a lot of creativity on what can happen in that mix. We're excited to see how artists, influencers, podcasters, filmmakers, how they're going to use it.
I got to think Glow makes money by these funds coming pooled together. You guys assess some type of fee, so maybe unpack that for us a little bit. And then maybe a more pointed question is Glow a necessary middleman when the artist could just say, hey, give to XYZ charity that I'm extremely passionate about that way?
Great point. So currently our revenue model is we take 5% of a donation. And we tell part of our job is to educate the donors. When somebody gives, like when you and I give to a nonprofit, typically 15% of that is going to go to raise the next dollar. And then another 15% we use for administration. Giving collectively like this means that we've already fundraised for the nonprofit, not on their behalf, but as a community. So when we deploy the capital, we actually help donors be 10% more effective because the money goes direct to the programs, number one. Longer term, we have a SaaS business model when we work with brands and employee giving for employee matching. And why give through Glow? So a bunch of the headaches that come with doing this, we handle. So if an artist does not have their own foundation, their giving community on Glow becomes their own foundation. So it's like running their own foundation without any of the hassle or the work. All giving is tax deductible. We handle all the receipting. We make that process easy for the donor and the artist. And the last thing we do is we handle the deployment of the capital and the storytelling back in. So there are all the things that an artist or a community, they want the benefit of, but they're not going to spend the time to go and do it. We just take care of all of that for them. So it's turnkey.
Hey, would you educate us? You see nonprofits raising money alongside celebrities often. I think like Save the Children was at the Lauren Daigle concert last year. How does that currently work? Like, how does the money flow, and how does Glow present a different opportunity for that?
I thought you were going to ask that question, and I'll answer it delicately. So there is a business model behind how that happens, but I won't dive into that. But I think the opportunity here is that, put it this way, when I was a recording artist, I would raise money for sponsorship organizations, and I would be compensated for doing that. Now, the value of that sponsorship, that 10-year sponsorship, so if I had 25,000 kids sponsored on a tour, the lifetime value to that sponsor organization is $130 million. So let that sink for a minute. I think the future is now artist communities and brands actually then as a community being able to deploy $130 million, and that's from one tour over 10 years. So does that answer your question without answering the question?
Thank you.
Okay. I don't want to get any artists in trouble.
Awesome. I think that's all the time we have for questions. Give it up for Lucas one more time.
Thank you.